Hi there. Thanks for taking the time to check out Posicovidity Stories, featuring individuals and organizations bringing solutions to the broader community during COVID-19 and beyond.
Really excited to have Maria from KIPP with us here today. Maria, would love if you can give us a starting overview of what KIPP is, what you have been doing.
Sure, absolutely. So KIPP is a network of public charter schools around the country. We have more than 100,000 students all over California, New York, North Carolina, Texas, and we have actually 242 schools nationwide as well, elementary, middle school mostly, and high school as well. So we focus on making sure that our students are mostly African American or Latino, and they're also 88% are eligible for free and reduced lunch program as well. So we focus mostly on disadvantaged students, and we try to provide them with a quality education.
Tell us a little bit about how the transition to these challenging COVID times has been for KIPP.
Sure. For a lot of our schools, we had to go switch to distance learning in a matter of hours, if not just a couple of days. So that was a challenge, especially because a lot of our students don't have access to, Chromebooks or laptops, or even in some of our regions, the lack of connectivity was a real issue. Just to give you a sense that there are some areas still, and we have schools in rural North Carolina where they can't do distance learning because it wouldn't be equitable. Where many of their students live in very rural neighborhood areas and they don't have access to internet. They are basically taking buses and they're dropping off instructional packets twice a week for their students. They're also dropping off food because these are areas where the need is very great. So students literally sit on the side of the road and wait for these buses to come. So not only can they get food, but they can get the instructional packets so they can continue their learning. So when we talk about distance learning, for some of our regions, that is not possible. And for other regions, like, in Texas, New York, the need for devices was very great. In Texas alone, we distributed 11,000 Chromebooks to our students, for example, because they just didn't have it. And when you have a household, when you have more than one sibling, for example, having to use it, that's a real struggle as well. And then there was the issue that we had to explain to parents how to log on to Google Classroom, how to do this, how to do that. Most of our teachers were on the phone every day, just trying to help our families and our students go through the steps, something they just didn't have to do before. Not only do we have to ensure our students keep learning, but they keep moving as well. Like KIPP New York has Move It Mondays, and like I said, you see the teachers doing it, you see the kids doing dance challenges on TikTok. We're trying to find so many creative ways to make sure that our students are really energized. I've seen teachers do videos, like music videos. They've edited their own music videos. That's amazing.
Thank you for sharing that, Maria. And I think you highlight some issues that for many may not be so obvious day to day. The fact that remote distant education isn't a given. The fact that so many of our students need support beyond just education. And I so applaud you all as educators at KIPP being able to sustain not just a critical education network and framework, but really, really being a great source of support, information, and resources during this critical time. How has this transition made you feel as an educator?
Well, I think for one, I think I'm grateful for our community, because I think one thing that our organization has always really focused on is people. We're all calling each other and saying, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Colleagues are calling saying, I'm going to make a run. Do you need anything? Can I bring it to your home? My manager's calling me, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" And teachers with each other are helping, also helping each other to can I help you with this part of the lesson? Can I help you with that? So it's been amazing. We have a saying at KIPP that's called team and family. We call ourselves team and family. And it's very much felt during these times that we really are a team and family, not only just with each other, but with our families and with our students and all those who are, with our alumni. We've set up an emergency fund for our KIPP alumni, for example. Many of them were just stranded in college and they didn't have, if you're a student from a low-income family, you might not have money to get back to school. You may not have a place to go because that you were banking on being at school till May, for example, and that's where you relied for your housing and food. Maybe your family no longer can maybe pay for next year's deposit because they've lost their job because of COVID. So we made sure to really ask our supporters to give us, some more, to give us funds really to help these alumni who were stranded. We wanted to make sure that we help not only our current students, but our alumni that graduated from KIPP who are in college, who most of them first gen, right? Students from low-income families who don't have the same resources other more affluent families had, and we want to make sure that their path to and through college was not disrupted because of this pandemic.
I have a message, and I want this message to be delivered.
To my teachers.
Let's be real for a second.
No metaphors, no pretty words.
Now more than ever, we are at risk. If you were to look through my eyes, you'd see I worry daily about my peers, my family. You'd see how I put on a strong face even while I was suffering inside.
I am a little scared when going outside. I feel like I have a target on me or other people sees me as like danger.
I don't want to be racially profiled, and I don't want to be told I can't be who I am and I can't love who I want to love.
One thing you wouldn't see is me alone.
I like KIPP simply for the fact that I'm identified as Randy. I am my own person. I'm not a number. I'm not a statistic. Being told, I care about you. I love you. I love you. That statement alone, it goes a long way. It really does.
If you were to tell folks who aren't as familiar with KIPP or this type of education focus, what do you hope people know more about, and where can people help?
Sure. Folks can always go to kipp.org to donate, for our schools. I know that, like I said, we're raising money for our alumni, and we're trying to give, we actually, all of our schools are really giving food to all our communities. Like in KIPP New York, for example, has a pantry that they've set up alongside with New York Food Bank, which offers food for not just KIPP students, but for the entire community. So, we're trying to, KIPP is about the community as well. We're all about helping not only our students, but the communities we serve.
What's motivating you through these challenging times? I'm sure it's been so hectic and difficult coordinating from basic needs to getting resources out, to getting educational materials out, to motivating and supporting the teachers who have been bearing the burden of not only their own work, but the emotional and physical and educational stresses of their students.
Yeah. I have to say that I'm just inspired by my colleagues. We've had several teachers who went to their schools, looked at the science equipment, for example, and donated to local hospitals. We have, the New Orleans, who has been really hard hit, as you know, by COVID-19. They looked around, they took all their science gear, like goggles, wipes, like disinfectants, antibacterial soaps, and they collected it all and then gave it to hospitals because, they knew how important it would be for first responders.
You had already mentioned so many creative ways that KIPP is dealing with a lot of resource limitations and cutoffs. For example, having buses that send educational materials and food to students, that's incredible. Any other creative solutions that you would like to share with the communities facing maybe similar difficulties?
Sure. I think that a lot of our teachers, for example, or even principals are doing read-alongs at night, at a time when things are hard for young kids, especially our elementary school students who might not understand. They're doing like at late at night, not even during school hours. I think, read-alongs. There's one teacher who has her wall just like set up with charts and things, like just to replicate the classroom, right? I think that what we're really trying to do is try to find resources and share resources. One of the things that KIPP did actually as well is we created like an open resource library for anyone to access. So our instructional, our instructional online materials are on it. That we also have anything from letters to families, like sample letters that other schools might need to use. Because unfortunately, we've all had cases we have cases, unfortunately, of people who have COVID-19 and even some deaths among our community, which have been, heartbreaking. But we offer all that, not only communications, we offer any instructional materials, how to cope with mental health. Because one of the things that we all forget sometimes is that schools are also a resource of mental health.
Thank you, Maria. All those points are so important, and schools themselves create a space for students to have the social communities, to have interactions, and beyond all of those, as you mentioned, all those components are now suddenly removed. Have we found creative ways in terms of the mental health component to ensure that our students are being able to feel more safe and settled during these turbulent times?
Yeah, I think we're asking students to feel connected. I think the idea of being connected is very important. I think it's when they feel isolation that's not, a great, I know our counselors are calling all the one-on-one, like our counselors and teachers are making thousands of calls daily to make sure they're in touch with our students. That's one. Two, I think some of the, dance competitions, or we have Talent Tuesdays in one, that both teachers and students can participate. We have a math challenge this week, as well as the science, STEM, robotics challenge. All those things, I really think that go towards making sure our students not only keep learning, but stay connected, because having a lifeline is so very important in these times.
Thank you all so much for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for shining a light on what we're doing daily. We appreciate it.